All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Oviedo City Council chambers. I'd like to ask everybody to please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Pastor Mercer, would you like to say the invocation?
Let's pray. Father, we come to you in prayer in the name of Jesus, and we thank you, Lord, for our fine city council. Thank you, Lord, for the great work they've done over the years here in our city to make it better. And I pray, God, that you would give them wisdom tonight. I pray that you would lead the proceedings as we go. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order. It's Monday, February 3rd, at approximately 6:30 p.m. We have all members of council present. All right, there's no ceremonial items on the agenda. Moving on to the minutes. What's the pleasure of council?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the minutes of January 13th and January 21.
Second?
Okay, I got a motion and second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'd like to take a vote. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving along. Let's see. All right, this is the public comment. I've got two forms to request to speak. The first one's by Pastor Mercer. Just state your name and address for the record.
All right. Dwayne Mercer, and what else? Pastor, Cross Life Church. All right. Last spring, we were given permission by the City Council to present a Bible to all the City Council people at that point, and hopefully in the near future as well, along with the some other officers, city manager, as well as the fire chief, police chief. And we have two new members, and we would like to present a Bible to them. I'm sure they already have one, but we'd still like to present this. And this is to Mayor Sladick, first of all.
Thank you.
And to Councilmember Smith.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. My name is on it. That's cool. Thank you. I appreciate that.
That's all I have.
Thank you
Thank
very
you, sir.
much. All right, the second request to speak is from Sana Yosef. Just name and
Good
address for
evening.
the record.
My name is Sana Youssef, and I am here today to discuss a student need for a crosswalk behind Haggerty High School. I am one of an estimated 23 students who cross every morning in the dark. This road has been increasingly busy, and it is getting pretty dangerous. Motorists rarely stop for pedestrians. My back tires have been clipped by vehicles just speeding down, and I can tell you this is an imminent safety concern. I have a visual aid today. There are 3 new developments that warrant the need for a crosswalk. We have tens of students now crossing this street in the dark and after school just jaywalking, especially in the busy traffic of the morning and afternoon. And I feel that there is an immense need for a crosswalk. How would I go about getting this done?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I drive that road every day in the morning, and I see you kids out there, and I agree with you. There needs to be a sidewalk, too. I think there's not even sidewalks out there. But that is part of the county, and we can give you information on the county commissioner, Bob Delary. You can get with him, and I see a real need for that. So I think we maybe as a city can support that with a resolution or something. And you're right, it's getting busy down there.
All right. And Mr. Wyatt's our Public Works Director. He could probably get you in touch with the individuals that you need to with the county as well. So, all right. Okay. All right.
Good job. Thanks for coming.
All
Yes,
right.
great. Thank you.
Thank you, and have a good night.
Thank you, you too. All right. I have no more forms requesting to speak. Is there anybody else in the audience wishing to speak at this time? All right, hearing none, I will close public comment. All right, moving on. There's no consent agenda, public hearings, first readings. Okay, we're on to resolutions. Let me catch up. Okay, we're on to item 7, resolution number 3881-20, order of business and rules and procedures for public meetings. Mr. Cobb, would you provide some information?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. This is a request for the council to approve revisions to the order of business and rules and procedures for public meetings, standard operating procedure. If you remember at your January 13th work session, you discussed these revisions, and this resolution changes the word mayor to presiding officer throughout the procedure. It also revises the discussion items section per your discussion to have that city council members can work with the city manager to place discussion items onto the best available agenda. We also addressed the public comment section within the work sessions part of the procedure that public comment would generally not be allowed, but unless it was part of the agenda or as the consensus of city council. And we revised the standards of conduct section per your discussion, such that the council members keep each other informed, especially prior before any formal actions would be acted upon. It's recommended that the city council adopt resolution number 3881-20.
All right, what is the pleasure of council?
Mr. Chairman,
Madam Mayor?
I move we adopt Resolution 3881-20.
Second.
You got a motion and a second, Madam Mayor?
I still think it would be preferable to go back to Robert's rules for the consent agenda items, but this is a far cry improvement over what we started out with.
All right. Councilwoman Smith?
I'm good. Thank you.
Good. Good.
Good. All right. Yeah, I think it's an improvement over what we had, and we clarified some stuff and cleared it up. So with that, I'll take a vote. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. On to item number 8. All right. Okay, item 8 is resolution number 3882-20, delegation of authority to the city manager. Mr. Cobb, can you provide an introduction?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. This is a request for the City Council to approve proposed revisions to the delegation of authority to the City Manager Standard Operating Procedure. This was also a discussion at your January 13th work session. This resolution revises Section A5, which prior to this had a listing of all the things that the City Manager is allowed to approve. That's over in the purchasing policy. And so what we did with that, we took out the list and just said if it's in the purchasing policy and it says the city manager can approve it, then that's what the city manager can approve. We also did a clarification. The former procedures just said benefit services, and so we revised A8 to say employee benefit services. We revised A14 to add in about youth leagues as far as facility lease agreements, such as Babe Ruth, Little League, Florida Craze Crush. We also added grant agreements with other agencies, city special event applications and alcohol permit applications, building permit applications for city facilities and properties, development orders, permit applications for city facilities and properties, development agreements, development orders, and development permits, golf course management agreements. We added those into the authority of the city manager. Even if, like with the development agreement, city council is still going to approve it, but it allows me as the city manager that once we got your approval, then I can move forward with the developer to get that agreement executed and recorded at the county. There was no other recommended revisions to the remainder of the procedure. It's recommended that the council adopt resolution number 3882-20.
What's the pleasure of council?
Mr. Chairman,
Madam Mayor?
I move we table Resolution 3882-20 until after charter review So what I perceive as inconsistencies between the duties of mayor and duties of city manager can be reconciled.
I got a motion. Is there a second?
Second for discussion.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Madam Mayor.
I pretty much already explained why. I like the idea of the city manager doing a lot of the things that he's doing, plus more. But I went and just double-checked the charter, and when I did, it said the mayor shall have the following duties: to execute ordinances, resolutions, contracts, agreements, and other instruments of the city. That is affirmatively inconsistent with the city manager can do whatever the city council delegates. And I don't think it's appropriate for the mayor to be signing all the contracts. So I think the way we're doing it, it feels like a step in the right direction. It feels like it's how we should be doing it. But to go further down that path without fixing how it's written in the charter, I think could be problematic.
All right. Councilwoman Smith.
A couple of questions. By tabling it, will that present any problems in terms of how we're operating? And also, if during the charter review process they change all of this, wouldn't they also? This wouldn't be prohibited for them to. This wouldn't prohibit them from changing things in the charter. I hope that sounds clear.
No.
So if we approve it, then what damage does that do?
So, all right. Mr. Cobb, can you enlighten us on that?
It might be more of a city attorney question.
Yeah.
There, okay, yeah. You can approve the ordinance because the charter revision will take a while, and it won't be on until the next general election, so the ordinance will be in effect. But if it was changed in charter review, that would override that.
So the question is, does this conflict with the charter right now if this was to be approved?
The mayor and I spoke about it, and I understand what she's talking about. Over in Section 3, where it talks about the duties of the mayor, it says that the mayor will sign those execute those ordinances, resolutions, proclamations, agreements, all those different things. And it stops. And then over in Section 4 is the part about the city manager. It says the city manager is authorized to do, as the mayor said, whatever city council delegates to him via resolution, ordinance, or even just action of the city council. And so I understand what she's talking about. The idea that it doesn't say these are the duties of the mayor unless council delegates it over to the city manager. It doesn't say that. It just said these are the duties of the mayor. So I understand where she's coming from. And so the way we've operated on it is that looking at the section in Section 4 that says, okay, the city manager can do things that are delegated to him by city council, then that's why we developed the operating procedure, which is adopted by a resolution. So once again, following what the charter says. Can the charter be cleaner so that there's no doubt? I agree with the mayor. It could be cleaner so there is no doubt. But from looking at, and obviously I can't give legal advice like the city attorney can, but I mean, based on what I've read, what we're doing is the best compliance with the charter. And then just trying to treat things on an individual basis by having this resolution that establishes these are the things that can be that are delegated to the city manager, so that everybody knows it. To me, that's following Section 4, to the T. There is that, like I said, there is that confusion in Section 3 because it doesn't say unless.
Okay. Mr. Hall, have you had a chance to look at this? And
No, Deputy Mayor, I have not looked at it particularly, but I will do so and report back to the council if the council so desires.
okay, all right, Mr. Britton, do you have?
Well, it's somewhere along the line, I think we got to be practical. If I heard it right, the mayor needs to sign off on every purchase request that gets issued, and
That's too much.
that doesn't seem to fit with, we have, and it's not meant anything, but we have a weak mayor form of government here, which means we have a city council, but the city manager runs the operations of the city. So as a practical matter, I think what we're doing is just fine. We can revise and add some text to the charter when the time is right, but I think to keep the city moving forward, I think we just need to approve this. And the context of the workshop was to give Brian a little bit more freedom because because of inflation, $25,000 doesn't go very far, and we're going to give him an increase to use his discretion. And that's just the practical way to do business, as far as I'm concerned.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Excuse me. And as I said before, if during the charter review they clean it up and make it a little clearer, then that will take care of this. But in the meantime, I just want to make sure that the city manager has the ability to take care of business, to transact business. So that's why I think this should be approved.
Councilman Chudnow?
I'm on the same agreement as Councilmember Britton and Councilmember Smith. This gives the city or the city manager a better operating ability now. And should it change in recommendations from the Charter Review Committee and is accepted, then hopefully it'll be in the same vein as this. But I think to operate more efficiently, I think this should be approved.
So I had, when I was reading through the charter and reading through this, I had the same concerns as the mayor did with, it specifically says what the mayor's duties are. I thought that it was reconciled in the what was it, the meeting that we had to discuss it. But it sounds like there's still maybe some question as to whether this conflicts with the charter. So I don't know if we did want to table it to the next meeting until Mr. Hall had a chance to look at it and determine and kind of opine on the charter, if that might be something better to do. Because I would hate to take an action that would directly conflict with the charter itself.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
But did I hear the motion correctly that the mayor wanted to table this until the charter review?
That's what.
I'm okay amending that to say, so we get a legal opinion, because I just am not comfortable. I think it makes sense to do, and I'm in agreement with doing it, but in double checking with the charter, I don't know that would not be me trying to change what the charter says by just not following it. And I don't want to be, I don't like the thought of being put in the position to potentially violate the charter without our legal counsel saying for sure, yeah, it's okay. Not to violate it, but that it does not violate it. At this point, I think we're kind of, you get what I'm saying.
Sir, have we established a precedence? We've been doing this for several years now. I know it's been since I've been on the council.
Since 2012.
2012, okay. So it seems like the precedence has been set and no one else has challenged it. So I'm wondering if it might be a little bit in the gray area, but we do have the authority to delegate to the city manager what we see fit. So I'm just wondering if it's a moot point at this point. We've been doing it for so long.
And Mr. Chairman, I thought that we had agreed that we were going to, was the wording changed where the council would delegate the authority to this? I've forgotten. I think we discussed this, and we were going to change, something had been changed where the council would be delegating the authority to Mr. Cobb to transact business. And I'm sorry, I just can't remember exactly.
There's an attachment to is the red line version, and everything in it, I think all five of us all agree that those things do make sense, and I still agree with that, but our governing document, you got to go to that first. And there's some ambiguity, and we've been doing it this other way for since 2012. It does instinctively feel like the right way to be doing it, and more probably, because this last week I signed the youth soccer league thing, which is it's kind of fun, but like the issue you came up with when both you and the mayor had been out of town in the past, it's at a standstill, and it's just not necessary to have the actual mayor sign everything. But at the same time, if our charter is unclear, I don't know that any of us wants to be in a position to say, well, we just decided that since we've been doing it that way, it must be legal. Because
Did we get an opinion from Mr. Groot or from the city attorney at the time?
I believe Mr. Group prepared the original resolution and standard operating procedure.
Mr. Chairman, I'd be willing to concede that we allow Mr. Hall to look at it, and then at the next city council meeting, we address it again. But I do not want to wait until the end of the charter review to...
Right. No, I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
and I think I already amended my motion.
Okay, so you amended it. You agree to the amended motion?
To change to the next meeting?
To the next meeting.
Next meeting, yes.
Would that, Mr. Cobb, would that work time-wise? I mean, just to
Yes,
table
sir.
it to the next meeting?
That's very simple.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
if the original resolution went through legal review before it was given to the council to vote on, I'm not sure it needs a second legal review because it had that legal review to start with by the city attorney.
Okay. Okay. That sounds reasonable. I mean, if the previous attorney put it together and reviewed the charter while it was being done, I would make the assumption that that had been done at that point in time. So
I'm glad we have a fresh face down here in the city attorney's seat who can offer us a second opinion.
okay. Well, so the motion on the table right now is to table it till the next meeting. We can vote on that motion and see where the vote goes, and then take further action after that if we want to, if we want to do it that way. So I think, are there any other comments or discussion on this? All right, so I'll call a question. All those in favor of the motion to table it till the next meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Okay. So the motion carries the table to the next meeting. All right. So let's see, we'll move on to, okay, so that was item 8. So we'll move on to item 9. Discussion item, State of the City. Mr. Cobb.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. This is a request for council to discuss the upcoming State of the City. It's going to be on March 4th at the Cultural Center. And in recent years, the mayor did the entire presentation, and council would come up at the end, and there would be a Q&A session. Mayor Sladik has proposed to do it differently. She would like to have all of council be included, and has suggested some topics that each of you can to address. She's also coming with some ideas about videos and so what I wanted to get. We don't have a lot of time between now and March the 4th, and I wanted to give you all an opportunity to discuss it because it is something new. And I did ask the mayor beforehand if she would help me with this presentation because she has some dynamic ideas that she would like to bring forward to you. And but we want to give you an opportunity to discuss it and get your feelings on the topics, if that's the topics that you feel comfortable with. I know Mr. Kelly and Mr. Rodriguez want to start meeting with you and getting your parts. If you choose to do this, we want to get your parts put together for you so that we have plenty of time to get everything put together. And so I'd like to turn it over to the mayor if council would allow, so that she can give more as far as what her idea of the State of the City would be.
All right.
All right, so I was thinking decentralized would be kind of neat, because all of us, the people elected all 5 of us, and each of us has, I feel like we've kind of fallen into natural niches of what our strengths and interests are. Councilmember Britton has kind of taken up the cause of the senior center. If we were to sort of lump together, I don't know if you guys have attachment 3 pulled up there. But age-inclusive programming, Parks and Recs, if you're willing to do something along those lines for maybe 4 minutes, and also figure out how to include a video clip from the staff members who are most involved, because we come up here and we do the policy, but who makes the trains go in this town? It's our really amazing staff, and to the extent that we can showcase all the people who are doing the heavy lifting, I think that would be a really cool way to start getting staff involved, getting the public better acquainted with who to contact if they have interest in these things, as far as us, so we're not all 5 getting, well, it's great to get, I love when everybody sends all of us emails, but then it's kind of confusing, like, well, who should respond? And I always feel like, well, if it's safety, I kind of want to defer to Councilman Chudnow. And if it's senior center, I kind of want to defer, and then like roads, I kind of feel like you're a roads person. And then Councilmember Smith, you're newish, so I think the funnest thing that might be interesting for the most popular part is what's coming next. So I thought, well, we could start a tradition of whoever the newest council member is talks about the coolest stuff. So if that kind of sounds like you might be willing to go along with this flow plan, that would have everybody talking 3 to 4 minutes. Very casual videos. I was just going to go out on with my cell phone, my city-issued cell phone, and just say, hey, Chief Buchanan, give us 60 seconds about all the coolest stats. And then people know who he is. And same for all the department heads, just to put a face with a name, and also include, if you look at my little, like, the one thing says, 2-minute intro, and then a picture of Joanne answering the phone at City Hall. If you call before 12:30, Joanne's up there. Whoever, we get everybody, and then a picture of Mr. Cobb. It's a very different feel than before. Oh, man, and you can hear the crickets.
All right. So who wants to start?
I'll start. I guess these are good picks. I'd personally rather talk about infrastructure along with seniors and youth and recreation, because I'm an infrastructure guy too.
Okay.
And I bug Bobby just about every day about something. So is this a fixed list?
No, not at all. This is like just kind of where in my brain. But this is I think this is a really healthy thing for us to even just talk about it here. Like, what bucket might you feel most self-identified with, so we all know, like, where are our strengths, where are our interests, and how do we better work together to serve Oviedo? So you like infrastructure.
So I'll take
Cool.
Seniors, recreation. I'll throw out youth and give that to some, maybe Judith can talk about the youth programs, and I'll take infrastructure, or you can take youth programs.
So infrastructure, you're talking roads, sewer, water?
Well, you got Bob as roads and sidewalks.
Okay,
I look at
and then the other kind of
infrastructure as,
infrastructure. Gotcha.
Stormwater, roads is part of infrastructure, but,
Okay, so everything but roads. Cool.
I can do that.
Or do you feel pigeonholed, though, being the roads and sidewalk guy? Because people care about that a lot.
No, I think we can talk for more than 5 minutes on
And
on the
lights.
roads and traffic and everything.
And the streetlights. People like streetlights.
Yes.
Are you-
I'm fine with
You're
public
cool with safety. But you could always talk about garbage cans or bears or something.
I'm fine.
Because don't the police get all the calls about there's a bear in my trash can? Or a lot of them?
We have in the past.
Councilwoman Smith?
Just a question. And not that I'm for it, I think it's a great idea. Will it interfere with anything we're doing with the charter review in terms of staff involvement? Okay, then I'm good to go.
Actually, if I could, when you look at the time frame, you're probably only going to get about one topic each.
Okay.
So when you're thinking about, something as large as roads and traffic, be thinking about what's something that I can hone in on. the mayor and I were talking about Ms. Smith and something new, the old downtown master plan. That's an exciting thing coming in the future, and can really, that's something that's really cool, and how in the past, when we did the original plan, the idea was Oviedo on the Park would spread north, and now it's happening. We thought it would go up 434, it went up Oviedo Boulevard, and now the effect of the old downtown. So that's something cool, something new that's coming. So I would recommend that when you're thinking about your topics, yes, she's giving you a lot of flexibility on your topics, but you may want to think about one specific thing that you really want to emphasize. So, because you don't really have a lot of time.
And also keep in mind that the idea is for each of our segments to take no more than 5 minutes, to leave open 20 minutes at least of Q&A time at the tail end. Okay. And I think there'll be more flexibility to get whatever we might have forgotten.
All right. My thought is I like the idea. I like having everybody up there and speaking and going through it. I still want to try to make sure that we, it's okay to have fun, but it still needs to be a somewhat professional presentation as well to go along with it, to make sure that we're getting the information out the way it needs to be and present ourselves in a professional manner in that sense. So,
absolutely.
and then I guess we need to just get with our prospective directors to go over and build the slides. I don't know, like for the video side of it, I don't know if we wanted to work with Tracy or somebody at the city that's done it in the past to maybe get those videos for us.
I don't know that we need to make it a very complicated thing. And I know Mr. Kelly had expressed some interest in getting a professional to do it, to make it, like a top-notch, very classy thing, add some closed captioning. But if you get a little tripod and a little phone, I wouldn't want the video aspect to be lost just because we've got to coordinate with outside vendors and things like that. And the idea is to keep it kind of casual, but still professional in conveying information. But at that 5-minute mark, guys, I'm going to have a little clock, and we're going to have to keep it moving along because,
Right.
we just got to move it along.
Right. Yeah, I think that if we're going to do the video aspect, I think we need to have it a little bit more professional than a cell phone. This is going out to the city. It needs to be presented in a professional manner.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Kelly looks like he wants to say something.
He's dying to say something.
Thank you, Mayor, council members, presiding officer. Mr. Cobb and I were brainstorming a little bit on how we could make this work without, say, going out and having to get a vendor. So I've been doing some research on some other sources of quality video production, and we're looking at contacting either some maybe schools or UCF to see if they'd be willing to participate, upon council's direction, of course, if you wanted to go down that avenue. So if you gave me a couple of days to report back to you, if you so direct, we can see if we can put something together.
It's only like 5 minutes of video from 5 different people, so that just seems like such a small amount, but it would add a lot, I think.
Mr. Chairman? Sorry.
Yes.
Both high schools have video productions. They do one each year in a contest with the school board, even though they're short 5-minute videos.
Well, only 1 minute each.
Right, but it would be something that the schools would probably enjoy doing, give them a little more experience. So it might be something, and we can divide that up between both Oviedo and Haggerty to give each of the schools, if they're willing to do it.
Is this something that we could give the youth council to coordinate for us?
Yeah.
At the
Look at them giving us thumbs up out there. I don't know if you can see it on the video out there, but they're giving thumbs up that this is something.
Through Mr. Kelly, of course. Is that everybody?
Well,
okay
fine.
with that?
So, Mr. Chairman, if under the direction of Mr. Kelly, I think if he would coordinate that, I think that would be great. in my opinion.
All right, sounds like kind of we're herding cats kind of a plan
All
this
right.
first year.
So, Mr. Cobb, Mr. Kelly, do you have the direction that we're looking?
I think so. Let me make sure I've got that.
My thought on the videos was let whoever's doing the video say whatever they think is the most important thing for the citizens to know, and then we do our slides around whatever they say. So whatever they say, we don't say it because they already said it.
All right. Mr. Cobb?
Just want to make sure I got it. Mr. Britton's going to focus on seniors, recreation infrastructure, and that would be water, sewer, stormwater. Deputy Mayor Pollack is going to focus on roads and traffic and streetlights and those types of things. Councilwoman Smith will new stuff. Councilman Chudnow is going to be public safety. And of course, I'm not sure. Mayor, what
I'll
are you
do
gonna
whatever's left over, whatever we
You'll
feel
take
like
whatever's left over. Okay.
this is the empty parts.
Okay, that'll be good. And you want Mr. Kelly to reach out to the high schools, and probably better if we work through the teachers. The students could, we can check it both ways. Mr. Kelly can go for the teachers, and the students can go for the teachers as well, and see if we can get some cooperation out of the high schools. And we also talked about UCF shoots student films here in Oviedo a lot, so we're also thinking, asking you, we'll try to come up with a way, a student-led type project for the videos. So.
All right.
We'll give you a high five over that.
Yes, Mr. Cobb, I have one question. When would the final product need to be done?
Next week. They can do it that fast. It's high school. Yeah, see, they
I would just say we've got to be done by the end of the month. I don't want Mrs. Rodriguez to have anxiety, and so I would think we would need to give her time to get, especially if we're going out to the different departments, and then she's going to be the clearinghouse that puts it all together. And so we need to give her that ability to do that.
All right.
I'm
And
excited. Thank you, guys.
So it's going to take place on March 4th, and being that this is the first time we're all coming together as a having individual speakers, did we want to set up some sort of and I don't know if this would work to have a rehearsal for it, or would that be a sunshine violation?
As long as we notice it, we should be okay.
Okay. All right. All right. So, is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
We're going to save the bloopers for later?
Yeah.
Save the what?
The bloopers for
See you
later.
later.
Rehearsal.
We can play those at the very end after it's over. All right. Okay. All right. That's the item 9, State of the City. Moving on to item 10, City Charter Review Committee. Mr. Cobb.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I put this on the agenda to, I wanted to give council an opportunity to talk about what you're going to do at the next meeting. And I had a conversation with a couple of you, and it seemed to me that not everybody really understood exactly what we're going to do. And so I wanted to outline for you what I learned on January 21st that the committee would be 15 members. They would be city residents and registered to vote. The application deadline is February the 10th at 5 o'clock. We have a box for applicants to check whether or not they serve the city either as elected official or staff. And that your goal is to put it on the November 3rd ballot. And that so the committee has to be done by May 18th. And that city council, each council member would appoint 3 members to the committee, and that you asked me to go search for a facilitator. One of the things we weren't sure about is how you exactly want to appoint those 3 members. If you want to set it up so that you each appoint 3 members, go down the line, and when the 5th member's done, we have 15 members, or if you want to appoint one member at a time. So it's something we wanted to put out there for you. Another part of it is, and I've got some information to relay to you from my discussions with facilitators, but as far as the committee itself, and also the staff, how we support the Charter Review Committee. It's another thing that I would like to talk to you about tonight as well. We did provide you with a draft resolution that establishes the committee. That's one of the things that we will have to do. And one of the things I also wanted to ask you about was if you want the committee to just stop at the recommendation. That, from a charter perspective, that's all they have to do is make recommendations to you. But once the ordinance is approved, then we have the process of educating the public. We can't advocate, but we can educate. And so whether or not you want them to participate in that education program, it's something to think about as well. I have been talking to facilitators. I've actually been able to reach 5. Unfortunately, one of them told me today they don't have time to meet our schedule. That is something that they are concerned about, the compressed schedule. All 5 of them expressed concern. They're concerned about the size of the committee. They feel that 15 is too big. 5 to 9 has been the range that has been recommended to me. In talking with one, the recommendation was that you needed at least 6 months. And I said, well, we've got 3. And the big concern is the length of the meetings. They're very in tune that these folks are going to work all day. They're coming back and they're going into this meeting. And if you have a 3-hour meeting, that can be really draining. And so that's something that they're concerned about. As far one of the things too, they recommended that we not pick a chairman and a vice chairman. And the reason being is that the chairman and the vice chairman have to worry about running the meeting. They don't really get to participate in the crafting. And so what the facilitators recommended to me was that let them run the meeting. They'll be the chair, basically. And they'll focus on running the meeting, and then all the committee members can then participate in the meeting and the crafting of the recommendations, which I thought was a pretty good idea. Now, I got the resolution from another city, so that chair and vice chair is in the resolution. I think we should take it out, quite honestly. If the committee wants to appoint a chair and vice chair, fine, let them. But I don't think we need to mandate it to them as far as that. The city manager, the city attorney, the city clerk are 3 staff members that are integral. And going back and looking at other, our prior charter processes, and the city attorney providing legal advice, the city manager providing technical advice, the city clerk serving as the clerk of the committee and taking the minutes and being able, producing the minutes for the board, and because they have to approve their minutes. And that's something that's very important. So that's in that resolution as far as how we engage with them. And I wanted to make sure that all of these things were good with you, because when we come back on the 17th, you're going to be making some very important decisions. So I wanted to give you an opportunity tonight, when you didn't have that burden of your decision making on you, to give you a chance to have a discussion. If there's any directions that you want to give me, if there's any changes that you feel like we should be making to this draft resolution, like I said, it's a draft. Or if there's any clarifications that I haven't gotten correctly, I want to make it smooth for you on the 17th is what I want to do. And I'm hoping that I'll have multiple candidates. My fingers are crossed. It bothered me today that the one dropped out. I know of at least 2 of them are excited, and I anticipate I'll probably get their proposals in the next day or 2. One is currently working with another city, and that's another schedule thing, whether or not they can do 2 cities at one time. There's one who's down in South Florida who doesn't want to apply unless one of the others does it. So, one of those things. And but that's one of the things that I learned is that there aren't a lot of people in the state that actually do this. But I found the 5 best. That's the funny part about it. So I'm hoping that at least one of them will come through for us, and we'll have that facilitator. And but that was the thing. I just want to give you an opportunity to discuss tonight without the pressure of having to take a vote, so that we can get ourselves organized, so that on the 17th, you all have an idea of how you want to pick the committee, and then if there's any direction regarding the resolution to appoint them, then I would welcome that as well.
Okay, so you've got 2 two main questions: how we want to appoint them, and well, I heard the
Well,
chair and vice chair.
right. There's actually three. There's
Okay.
how you want to appoint them.
Okay.
If you want to like 3-3-3-3, or if you want to do 1-1-1,
Right.
almost like a draft.
Mhm.
And then the chair and vice chair, whether or not you want to require them to have one or leave that up to them.
Okay.
And then the participation of the manager, the attorney, the clerk. And frankly, I think the Charter Review Committee should be able to ask for the directors, if they need advice from directors, questions about how they do things, that they could have the ability to ask for a director to come to a meeting. I think that would be helpful to them, as they go through their deliberations.
Okay. All right. So let's take these one by one. So as how we select them, it sounds like we could each select three at a time, go down the list, or do
Mr.
it.
Chair,
Yes.
before you get to that point, Mr. Cobb was saying that the facilitator said that 15 appears to be too many, especially if you're trying to meet a deadline such as we are. So should we maybe reconsider that number? Because it sounds like 15 is going to be unwieldy.
I was just thinking the same thing, if I could, Mr. Chairman. And I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I want to say 7 was the number that is a number that has been on it in the past, and that would let everybody do 1 and then 2 by consensus through the whole group. So I'm just throwing a random number out there, and that's the one that seems to work, sort of.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
when our initial discussion was on 15, because of the tight schedule,
Oh, that's right. So they could all, so if you
so
miss some-
if someone misses one, if 2 people miss, you're not down to 5. That was when we had our workshop. That was part of the discussion. So 15 may sound large, but because we're asking for volunteers, and they may or may not be able to come to a meeting or stay for the whole meeting, I'm wondering if that number isn't the appropriate one because of the time schedule.
And as for the time schedule, I think it was our direction to let them dictate whether they can produce the product when we needed it, or if it needed to take longer, because like the councilwoman had said in that discussion, we want to make sure we get it right, and so if it takes longer time period, then so be it. Madam Mayor, you look like you.
Yeah, I don't know where to go with this. I'm cool with 15. You brought up a good point. I forgot that we had mentioned that there may be absences. I think we're going to have some hardcore people. A few people have reached out and said that they're submitting applications for this. I think there's a lot of energy for it. I think there's 15 people's worth of energy for it. And if we have a moderator who may also happen to be an attorney and could fill that role, are there any opportunities like that seem to be forming? Just one. Okay. That may create some additional efficiencies that could help the group go quickly. And that person could say, hey, we're not going to have everybody speak for 3 minutes, because that would be 45 minutes right there. He may assign homework. He or she may assign homework and say, look, if you have some provisions, you need to, the first meeting, you need to read the 20 pages and come with your proposed alterations, and provide them ahead of time so everybody can come fully prepared to discuss and just hash through it. So all of this really, in my mind, hinges on who we end up getting as the facilitator, if that person is prepared to bring down the iron fist as an outside person in the art of facilitation.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, if I could, just a little bit, if it's could I?
Yeah, go ahead.
They're worried about the size of the committee, obviously. One of the things that was brought up was if you have 15 members, you got to have 8 to have a quorum. And something I could work with Mr. Hall on is that definition of quorum, that if you have 15 members, but if you don't have to have 8 present to have a quorum, You could have less than 8 to be a quorum. Then if a lot of people miss, then you're still able to operate. So that might be something that we could create flexibility in the word and how quorum is defined. Then the 15 wouldn't be such an issue. But I understand we built in backup is what we did with the 15. Whereas when you're doing 5, 7, 9, then you don't have a lot of leeway. But so one of the things they argued was, well, if you've got 9, then you only need 5 to get a quorum. So, but one of the things we could do is we could work on how we define the quorum, and not go strictly Robert rules of half plus 1, but we could work on how to define quorum so that the committee can operate even if, let's say, they only have 7 members show up.
Okay. All right. Councilwoman Smith, I know you wanted to say something. Did you?
I expressed my opinion the last time that this is going rather fast, and see the things that you run up against when you're doing this so quickly. And so, having said that, I guess we stick with 15 then.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
And I agree with Councilmember Smith about the time frame. I understand partly why the deadline on the resolution is the way it is. However, you bring up a good point. If working through it with the moderator and the committee, if they feel they need more time, then I think we need to give them that type of leeway. So if they're saying this time frame is too quick to give it the job and the attention that it needs to have it well done and not rushed, we leave that up to the moderator and the committee, and not put a specific time frame or word it so they have that ability.
I agree. I think it's better to get it right than to rush it and try to get it on the November ballot. But I want to leave that, and we've talked about this before. Leave that up to the committee when they get together and they look at everything and they look at the time frame, whether they can meet it or not. I mean, that's on the committee and the moderator. So, Mr. Britton, Councilman Britton.
Well, we had a 3-hour workshop, and I thought we had this all worked out. 15 members on the committee. We worked that out in the workshop. I'm fine with that. The timeline, I think I remember the discussion was, let's shoot for a November ballot, but if we don't make it, we don't make it. And I'd rather get it right myself than have to go to an artificial timeline. I don't remember anything about a chair or vice chair. I don't see the need for it myself. And I actually didn't see it in the resolution. Is it in there, Brian?
Yes, sir.
I just read through. I didn't find it, but I'd take that out. And if they want to do that, let them do that. And as far as quorum, I'd rather raise the quorum because I think the people that are going to be on this, I want them to show up for every meeting, and I want them dedicated to show up to every meeting and give their input, not give them an excuse not to show up because I think everyone else will. But I think a majority is a fair quorum, but I wouldn't want to lower it.
Okay. All right.
What was were those the 3 questions you had, Brian? The timeline, the vice chair?
It was just want to make sure I got it right as far as the committee itself, the chair and vice chair, and the engagement with the staff and the city attorney.
And the only question I have is on the selection process, and I'm not sure how I would handle that. Maybe go down the road and each pick one, and then come back again and do it the other way.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
If I could propose an extra fun way to do it that is also immensely fair. And it's never been done this way before, and it is akin to going down the road once. If we were all to pick all the people we are interested in, stand sort of in a circle, and we could even roll a dice to see who goes first, and each pick one person, then go back around, and it comes back to you, and based on the other people who have gone in, if other people are powering up, you could power up or you could power down, because there was the discussion about should we allow elected officials or not, and all this stuff. And I like the thought of regular people being included in this process. But part of me thinks, well, if everybody's getting like real strong personalities in there, that I would also want to add strong personalities in. But this would give everybody an opportunity to sort of collectively come up with the most harmonious, balanced group possible in sort of a interesting Settlers of Catan way for anybody who plays that board game out there.
I think from an order standpoint, I think that would get somewhat disorderly. So I think that in my opinion, going one by one down the line, starting in the order that was proposed in the agenda item, going through the order, and then like you said, if you see where everybody is on the first go around, you can make your determination for the next two, going from there. So, that's just my opinion, but I think that would keep it orderly. We'll come with our list, and we can kind of work our way down. If other people select a candidate, we can move our way down from there. So,
Could I pick fifth?
all right.
I'm serious.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
One idea I also had, I was thinking about this, and I think one of the questions I asked Mr. Cobb, I don't think we had decided on some things. And again, if you're looking at a particular timeline, my suggestion that we adhere to two things: that the person be a resident of Oviedo, that the person be a registered voter, and we allow the council member to vet each person that we would recommend, and that we go ahead and just name who we want, who we decide to be on.
So would you be opposed to each individual council member naming one and then coming around the line?
I think that's the clearest way. I think, again, we're on a timeline, and
You
we
would do in a
just,
row, and then we go back.
if we're each given three choices,
Okay.
we just go down. I mean, I don't want to make it too complicated because, again, we are under a timeline. So allow me to vet my people, and the only qualifications be a citizen of Oviedo and registered voter, and let's name them and get them and let's get going.
All right. So at the February 17th meeting, we'll go down the line, everybody name them, and move on.
Could we,
That's my opinion.
Okay.
but Mr. Chairman, could we, and this would just thrill my soul, whatever order we do it in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, could we then go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1?
I want to try to keep it
It's
orderly.
that is so orderly and so easy to do. It can be done.
We're just going to, well, my opinion, it is the consensus of council on this. My opinion is to just go down the line from the order that was put in the agenda package, and just everybody select one, and then we'll go down the line again and do until everybody selected their three. That's my opinion.
Works for me.
Oh, come on, guys. It doesn't hurt to try my way.
Anybody else have any opinions on that? That's like the first question we need to answer for Mr. Cobb, how we're going to do it. Is everybody okay with that way?
Where is it in the memo?
Oh, I've read it in here, the order.
Okay, I found it.
It has to do with mayor, deputy mayor, and then by seniority on council.
I don't have any objection to that.
That's fine with me.
Is everybody okay with that? I know you'd like to be last.
I think my way would be more interesting and allow for an element of strategy that would be exhilarating for all of us.
It shouldn't be strategy. It's still selecting people. But that's just me. All right. So that's the first question. I think that we have consensus that we will go down the line one by one. All right. The second question is the chair and vice chair. If we should just remove that and let the moderator discuss that, or kind of run the meeting to allow the members to just be part of the meeting. Is everybody okay with that? All right, we have consensus for that. And then the third question is whether staff, the city manager, assistant city manager, and directors should participate in the meetings. Do we have
If
discussion on
desired,
that?
I'd say if desired. There's probably sometimes
Yes.
they'll be needed and sometimes they won't be.
Are you? I'm sorry.
That's fine.
That's fine.
The city clerk has to be there no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yes, that's fine.
I'm fine with that. I do have one question, though.
Yes.
In the draft memo, in the draft resolution, where it talks about during the January 21st meeting, I'm not real comfortable with number 4 when it comes, if we start excluding people, I
It's
don't,
on the memo?
yeah,
Memo?
it's on the memo.
On the memo. Oh, okay.
That, Councilman, that was just there to give you.
Okay.
This was what was suggested.
All right, because then we
to you.
decided, and then we decided to check the box. Okay.
First part of the meeting, the first part of the memo is what our understanding was.
Right, okay.
But we did put in there, this was what was suggested to you, just in case. But our recommendation is the 7 points at the beginning of the memorandum.
Yeah, the only qualifications is to be a resident of Oviedo and to be a registered voter, and that's it.
That's it.
Okay. All right. So, okay, we're back to so is everybody okay with staff, the city manager and directors being present to provide feedback to the committee?
As needed?
As needed. I think there's times when they might just want to go home and eat with their families, and that's fine.
But they are open meetings, so anybody could attend.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. All right. All right. So did that give you the direction on the questions that you needed?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right.
So we need to change a little bit the proposed ordinance here to remove mention of the chairman.
I'll revise it.
Okay,
I'll take care of it.
cool.
Okay. All right. So you got your direction?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Good to
That's
go. Like I said, I wanted you to have this opportunity without the burden of having to make decisions.
all right. Well, that's it for item 10 then. We're on to the city manager report.
I have no report.
All right. Mr. Hall.
No report, other than I will report back to council on the legal opinion regarding the authorities by the next council meeting.
Okay. Thank
Sir,
you.
could you include what was provided originally for that effort?
I will do so.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Councilmember Smith, you've got the floor.
Thank you very much. I have a long report. I'll try and make it brief and include some in the next one if I can. But if I could just make an editorial comment. This is my second month being on council, and there's a difference between running for election and then once you win, now I'm charged with leading the government. And it's been an exhilarating process, and I am so happy to be of service to the citizens of Oviedo, having been elected to serve. And I take that very seriously when I took the oath of office. And when I came in, I wasn't worried about how I would fit in or about how I would acquire the things I needed in order to, do a good job. But I need not have worried because Mr. Brian Cobb has been a tremendous support, a tremendous leader, has made me feel that I can do the job, and has provided me with the courage and the encouragement to do the job. And I thank you very much, Mr. Cobb. And now my report. I have several things. During my campaign, I used to have a Java with Judith at different restaurants around the area, and I'm going to start that back up. Basically what I did was went out and allowed the citizens to come and talk, and we talked over a cup of coffee. So my next Java with Judith, I was invited to Coleman's Barbershop on February the 11th from 7 to 8. Mr. David Coleman, 185 East Mitchell Hammock Road, invited me to the barbershop to hear what talk goes on in the barbershop, because mostly that's where problems are solved, in the barbershop. So I expect to come back with all problems solved. So that's on February 11th from 7 to 8 at Coleman's Barbershop. The Oviedo Historical Society has invited me to speak on the 18th and give a presentation on the book I wrote about the colored schools in the Oviedo area, in particular the Jamestown Colored School Museum that we're working on. So on the 18th at 7 p.m., I will give a presentation at the Oviedo Historical Society. There's a Black History celebration February 22nd. The Johnson Hill group will meet at Oviedo High School at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. At the Gerald Casanova Performing Arts Center February 22nd to celebrate Black History Month. Also, something that's very near and dear to my heart that citizens should be aware of is that this is a census going on. In March, they'll start gearing up, and we do have a liaison here in the city. She sent me a list of dates that we need to be aware of. This is very important. January 21, they really started to the process. March 12th to the 20th, households will begin receiving official Census Bureau notices in the mail. That's very important that you not ignore that. From March 30 to April 1st is the Census Bureau will count people who are homeless. April 1st, Census Day is observed nationwide. May through July, the census takers began visiting homes that did not respond to the 2020 census. And this is very important because when they do visit homes, they don't just visit your home. If you haven't filled out the information, they go to your neighbors to get information on you. So be aware of that. You want to fill out those forms. December, the Bureau delivers the appointment counts to the President. And 2021, March 31st, they begin redistricting based on the census information. I also attended the meeting. I'm a part of the Friends of Lake Jessup, and they had a meeting of the Lake Jessup Basin Management on Thursday at 9:30. So I'm getting my feet in the door on that, and I'll report more on that meeting later on. We have the CalNO meeting here on Wednesday at 6, and I am particularly interested in the simulation programs here. You know, simulation is the second largest employer in this area, and simulation covers a lot. It's just not military. And Mr. Kaur, I believe, was involved in that, if I'm not mistaken. And we will have speaking Mr. Neil Finkelstein, and he will speak at CalNO, but I hope maybe to have him come speak to us again about simulation, because it's a very fascinating up-and-coming industry that we need to be aware of, because it's right next door. And then I found out that a friend of my husband was involved in the simulation program, and which was very interesting. And then lastly, and forgive me, Councilman Chudnow, if I step on your toes here, but the Oviedo Police Foundation is having a golf tournament on Friday, March the 6th at Oviedo Twin Rivers Club, and that's going to be very exciting. Thank you very much.
Mayor Slater.
On the Sustainability Task Force, do we have a timeline on that yet? I don't know how exactly that was supposed to happen, but it'd be nice if we could shimmy that out now, what our goal is. Maybe.
Well, I haven't put a timeline to it, but I mean we can.
Okay.
Maybe I can get my information and work with Mr. Cobb on putting something together for a discussion item at a meeting in, late March, like the late March meeting?
Can we do it sooner? Because the group prior to Councilwoman Smith and I arriving already had a discussion item and already decided to have a sustainability task force. So I don't know that there's anything left to discuss other than.
Well, it's trying to put together the basically the governing documents for the committee, because it would be more of, it wouldn't just be a task force. It would
Be like an idea house.
Well, no, it would be a actual
Governed by sunshine? So you're thinking like a real.
like a subcommittee.
Okay.
That makes recommendations to council. That was my thought.
Okay. I was thinking something more informal because there's just a lot of energy and a lot of ideas that people have, and there's no good way to say, okay, well, all 17 of us, whoever wants to come, sort of like the senior committee. So the sustainability task force in my mind was everybody who's interested just shows up, hashes some things out. If a lot of people seem to think it's a good idea, then somebody from that group would come and present it.
Well, how did Councilman Britton, your senior committee, how did you, with that one, is it just members at large, or are there?
We left it open to the public, whoever was interested, and that turned out to be a force multiplier because we had 10 people the first day, and they went out and got 10 more people the second day, and we ended up with, 30, 40 people in there before it was all over. Thanks to Patrick, it was a very good effort.
Okay, so maybe we do something that way instead. My thought process was to make it more formal, but we could maybe do something with a task force or a committee like that, and not make it as formal. That would make it much easier.
It's easier, yeah. And I think that would be plenty of form for the people who are interested in participating to just say, come on out and let's brainstorm together.
So from the senior committee, how does recommendations and everything get passed along? Do they get just passed along through you, or how does that?
Well, we kind of did a blue sky effort and opened it up to whatever folks were thinking, a wide range, and then we narrowed it down to a set of Patrick, 15, 20 recommendations over the couple months.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly.
I would categorize the senior committee, mayor, deputy mayor, council, as more of a fact-finding. What do you as senior citizens want to see your city have? As far as formal recommendations, I wouldn't call it formal recommendations. I would say hey, we're senior citizens. This is what we want to do. This is what we want to have. If you're making any formal recommendation to the council, I would suggest a governing body type approach rather than fact-finding.
Yeah, we used kind of the ION approach on how we approached the ION committee when we started that, which went out and asked the question, what do you think is valuable to you? And then we compiled it and went from there. I'm not sure if you got a pretty broad subject there. It might not fit that mold.
This seems like a thing where we just need to say, what do you know about that exists that we don't even know about? And can you give us some kind of plan to get us there? Because everyone's like, oh, wouldn't it be great to have solar-powered lights? Well, we know that exists. Can anybody get us a plan to get us there that's not going to cost an arm and a leg?
All right, so why don't we do this? The next meeting will probably be too soon to try to put something together. If the first meeting in March, I know we've got the charter review, or the charter review committee on that meeting, right? Or no, sorry, that's not on that meeting. Okay. So why don't we, if it's not too heavy of a agenda, maybe we can put that as a discussion item just to kind of get that hashed out and to go forward with that.
I was going to tell you, there is no second meeting in March. You only have one opportunity.
I was thinking that.
Oh, that's right, spring break.
So
I
it would
forgot
be
about
the first
that.
meeting in March. One of the things I would tell you, council, is this. I would recommend having a formal established committee. And the reason I would recommend it is that you have a resolution that says by 2050 we want to have a carbon-free footprint. And so I think I understand what the mayor's saying, and But I think from an approach and also from a staff sanity approach as well, that you need to appoint a formal committee that's going to look at making those policy recommendations to you. They can brainstorm, and I think they can have people come in and help them brainstorm, and they can allow public comment during their meetings and go through that brainstorming process. But I think at the end of the day, that they're going to need to formulate recommended policies to you on how, as the mayor said, how do we get there? How do we get to 2050? And it's a combination of things. There's a lot. There's engineering. There's planning. There's environmental. There's like the mayor said. How do we get solar operated streetlights? And there's even a new technology now where they're lighting athletic fields through the energy of the children playing on it. And I mean it's a new technology.
That's some serious motivation there.
Yeah, it is. I thought about sidewalks myself. How do we can light sidewalks? But I mean that's the thing. I think if you're going to do it, I would establish it through a resolution. I would make it a formal committee and have them meet regularly. And once again, with the goal of providing you with recommendations. Let them do the brainstorming for you and bring you a plan like that. Here's how we can get to 2050.
All right. Well, I've been working on it. So why don't we do this? If we can, what date do you need it by in order to get it on the agenda and review it?
Let's see.
The 21st? Okay. I will get it to you before the 21st, and we can discuss it, and then we can get that on the agenda for the March 2nd meeting.
Yes, sir.
And then we, as a discussion item, and we can discuss it, and then go forward with that. Does that sound good?
That sounds fantastic. Thank you.
Okay.
I also wanted to make everybody aware of some land swapping that it's not in city limits, but I think it's something we all need to be aware of, and that is trading the wilderness area at the end of Old Lockwood for the River Cross property. So it's trading about 230 acres for 694-ish acres on the other side. And my understanding is that nothing is set in stone. It all kind of hinges on whether the federal judge will allow both parties to just pause but not be kicked out of line. So they want to let the litigation kind of continue going, and if they get to where the judge says, well, your hearing is up, to say, well, you don't have to be heard now, we'll hear you later if you decide to come back later without having to hop out and hop back in. But if this were to happen, it would impact Oviedo in a very different way. And that would be people coming down Old Lockwood, and they would hit Lockwood Road. And maybe some of them would turn and go on to go towards UCF, but some are going to turn the other way, and we're going to get even more people down Mitchell Hammock. And the original proposal contemplated somewhere just shy of 1,000 homes. That is a substantial amount of traffic that may be coming our way. So just wanted to make sure that you guys are generally aware of that. I had a very productive conversation with the chairman of the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners, Jay Zembauer, getting kind of up to date on what their plan is to the extent that they're able to share it, because all of the meetings they're holding are shade meetings. So none of what they're saying in there can be disclosed until after all of the negotiation is complete. So that's one thing going on there. But I do have quite a few concerns about how that shakes out from a budgetary standpoint, a traffic standpoint, and I'm sure when it impacts us more, it will come back in a more formal way. Round Lake Park, thank you very much, Mr. Boulware, for making the magic happen. I understand power's back over there, so most of it, and the back plan. So that is very much appreciated. Thank you. Also, talked with Senator David Simmons a little bit about the $1.25 million appropriations project coming up for the stormwater master bond, or master stormwater the regional stormwater pond. And spoke with our representative, David Smith, about it as well. It has moved through the House process and seems to be at a pretty good spot. My understanding is that $200,000 is where we're sitting at, and Mr. Kelly is shaking his head in agreement that that's where we are right now, even though we've asked for more. And Mr. Chudnow, if you could take it away from there, that's the end of my report, but I'm curious how your meeting went up there with the chamber.
Well, I'll wait for my report, though.
Okay, yeah, I'm good. Oh, wait, you're not next in line.
I'm not next.
Okay.
Councilman Britton.
Just got a few things here. One, council meeting is Wednesday, and I'll be there, and I've got some procedural stuff on how to transfer the treasury log, and I'll have that with me. Saturday, 5K race out at the Oviedo on the Park. Fun event. It kind of got dampened by the weather, but everyone there seemed to have a good time. And it was fun. Bring my wife and daughter out there and our dog and stand out in the drizzle for a while. And the only other, I've got two other things. One is I did see the first LED street light go up I saw it on Lockwood the other day. I think they had to replace a street light, and it seems like they're replacing the new ones with the LED. So that was pretty cool to see. And hopefully we'll see a lot more of those, and that'll show up in our sustainability account. Maybe that's something that we need to encourage to move out on that. The only other thing I have, and I don't want to, Bobby, I don't need you to come up here. It's a letter we got from the Oviedo Gardens Homeowners Association regarding some stormwater issues. This is the neighborhood that's down across from the Boys Town, and apparently they've been having some stormwater issues out there with erosion in some of their ponds. And Bobby, I just text you. I think you guys are working on this, and maybe we can get a report on what the plan is to go and correct that. I assume it's the builder's responsibility? Okay, that's what I figured from the letter. So maybe just send us a note or something on how that's being worked out. So that's all I got.
All right, I'm up next. The 5K that happened over the weekend, the Fitness 5K, it was a great event. Staff did a great job putting everything together. The weather kind of dampened everything. It was a shame the turnout just wasn't there because of the weather. But the different vendors that came in from, because it was supposed to be an outdoor expo, so you had RVs, you had ATVs, the jet skis. Couldn't get them in Center Lake, though. They wouldn't let me drive it around. The zip line was fun. We kept running around like little kids, going back to the zip line and going down it. The rock climbing wall got canceled because it was too wet. It was too dangerous to do that. But just give staff kudos. I felt so bad for them that they put so much effort into that event and did a great event, and it just the weather just wasn't there for it. So
I didn't realize it, but that was a cooperation with Jay over at Haggerty. They used to have a 5K run, and I think they partnered with us to have that.
Oh, okay. So,
Jay Getty, who's the
okay.
athletic
So
director out there.
I remember that the Husky trot.
Yeah,
I remember doing
I think
that.
that was the version of it.
That was back when you were in front of me.
Yeah. What did your medal say?
It was my age group.
Oh, okay.
I was third in my age group. Out of three, probably.
I was the same way. I got third line.
Then the other item, we received an email about opening day for the Babe Ruth League, and I'm sure that normally the opening day for Babe Ruth and for Little League are on the same date. I don't know if they are this year. I haven't seen anything from Little League.
I have not received the opening date from Little League.
Okay.
Usually they seem like they fall on the same week.
Okay, so that was on the 22nd, and I don't, normally we try to at least send one council member to represent each one, or one or two council members. So I know that Babe Ruth is on the 22nd, and we'll find out about Little League. So I just want to make sure, and I'm sure we can do that by email, just to make sure that they're represented. We've always had a good representation at all those. So, other than that, I think everybody's kind of said everything else. Oh, the last question. I saw it with other cities, and I didn't see it on our agenda this time. But I think the February 22nd would be a great opportunity to present a resolution or a resolution or proclamation for Black History Month at the event that's going on. So, is everybody okay with that?
I think that sounds fantastic.
Okay. All right. Let's see. I think that's all I had. Councilman Chudnow.
I'll start out to finish off where the mayor ended up. I went up with the chamber to Tallahassee for really not even a day, well, about a day and a half. I did also speak with Senator Simmons about the stormwater project and with Representative Smith. I also had a chance to meet with the DOE, talk about the relocation of Geneva Drive project. That, I think, went very well. There's a real good, I think, hopefully, there's a good possibility we may be able to get some state funding on that one to assist. It was a very positive meeting, so hopefully that'll help us do that project in connection with the 426, 419 to widening. I did also, the Cops for Kids car show was Saturday. They had over 200 cars, combination of antiques, muscle cars, a lot of law enforcement cars were there. It's always a good event. The weather, unlike the run, was outstanding on that day. So they had canine demonstrations. Fire department did a Jaws of Life on a car. They ripped the car apart. That was already ripped apart. But an excellent event, and it all goes. All the proceeds go to a charity to help kids who I believe this year was battling illnesses. So, and the last thing is, I will reiterate about the Foundation Golf Tournament on February 6th at Twin Rivers. All the proceeds goes directly to the foundation, which assists and helps out the Oviedo Police Department. So that's the end of my report.
All right, we're on to future meetings. Monday, February 17th, Monday, March 2nd, and Monday, Monday, February 2nd, or 17th, the 2nd, and there's no meeting on the 16th, and those will be held here at the council chambers. Is there anything else for the good of the order? Hearing none, I adjourn the meeting.